So in this extension, what we're primarily trying to do is, first of all, continue stuff that was initiated in the 2000 release. And I think a very good example of that is the improvements that we're putting, and some of them may seem very minor, around the import workflow that was introduced in 2011, the conform capabilities also that came with it, with the dragging and dropping functionality. And so there's a much better browsing experience, I think, that in this extension, and it's really a continuation of work that was started in the 2011 release. The extension also is an opportunity for us to revisit some tools that were, I think, in need of new features, updated features. But it also is an opportunity for us to also introduce brand new tools, and there's a couple of those in the extension. So it's all in all, I think it's a pretty good release. So we're going to switch to the interface of Flame now, and I just want to take a look at some of the stuff that is new in the library and project management. And with the arrival of Flame Premium, there's a couple of things that we did to make the experience between applications slightly easier for users. And one thing here that you will notice in the project creation panel is that you have the ability from Smoke and Flame to actually directly create the Lustre project. And if you select this option, it will create a directory structure automatically for you that will share the same name of the project that the one that you have in Flame. And a really interesting side effect of this project creation here is that you'll be able to then archive your Lustre project simultaneously with your Flame or Smoke project directly from the archive menu of Flame and Smoke. So that's kind of cool. On the user side also, what we're doing is that we're finally introducing the ability for users to select which hotkey preset they prefer when navigating between Flame and Smoke. So you can actually use Flame with a Smoke hotkey set, or vice versa, try to use Smoke with the Flame hotkey preset. So again, this is all in the spirit of making it easier for people just to keep their habits and hotkeys when navigating between the various applications. And it's worth mentioning also that this is something that is completely cross-application. So selecting the Flame hotkey preset in Smoke will also affect the timeline hotkeys, and they will essentially be the same as the ones that you have in the Flame batch timeline. So that's worth noting. And so what we're going to do now is take a closer look at the new browsing features that we've put inside of the extension. So we're going to take a look at the new functionality that improves browsing through the gateway. So if we just go into the library, the first thing that is worth noticing is that you have new things that appear in the pop-up. And one thing worth mentioning is actually your bookmark selections are listed here, and those would be your network shortcuts to directories that are somewhere on your network. You can also access the network panel directly by selecting the Browse Network option, and this is something that wasn't there before. And so if I just select this bookmark, for example, it's going to take me directly to the location that I selected. And another improvement that I have to on the browsing side is that I can actually filter the display of my files according to a specific file format. So if I only wanted to take a look at, let's say, R3D files in this directory, I can go ahead and click select R3D here in this pop-up, scan subdirectories, and it's actually going to show me only the red files it has detected, and of course the edit decision list. So because I could be conforming with this red material with an FCP XML or an AAF, so XMLs and AAFs will invariably appear. Another, I think, really cool thing that was a request from all users when we introduced the gateway import stuff is the ability to keep the previewer and the library slates much more in sync. And so this is something that's actually happening in the extension. So you will notice that if I browse through the library and release on pen up, my previewer got updated immediately. And this is actually true of anything I would perform, actually even changing, for example, my R3D settings. So if I go and, let's say, change the ISO value, you will notice that everything updates, both the slate and the library. Again, this was a long time request. Well, not necessarily a long time, but an immediate request from users when we switched to the new paradigm, the browsing paradigm. So that's kind of cool. It also extends to things like in and out points. So if I were to select something like an in and out here in the previewer, you will notice that it also gets immediately reflected in the library across the board. So things are maintained in a very consistent way across the board. So that's kind of cool. Also, another interesting thing that you will see is that in the pop-up list that we have here, we now have access to the actual desktop of the project. And even the edit desk for that matter, if it's a Smoke project, and this is actually true also across the network. So you can finally consider and access media that would be located on a remote project or on another project on your local station, and let's say you didn't have frames, that some clips were only stored on the desktop of another project, you forgot to save them into a library. You can now access them, and of course Flame desktops and Smoke edit desks are read-only at all times, and this is of course because you don't want the user to see clips disappear or pop up while he's working. So that's actually a pretty long time request, I think, that people wanted to be able to see things from the desktop and the edit desk presented as if it were a library. If we look at the again here some of the stuff that's added to handling the shortcuts, if you're tired of dealing with a specific shortcut, you no longer need it, just click on the little minus icon here and it's gone from the pop-up list. Since we still keep the bookmark selections, you can actually get back to it very easily. So again, it's just little things here and there that make your life easier at all times. On the front of new formats that we support, well, we're introducing the support for 3 new formats in the extension. The first one is PNG. It's a very long time request, but now it's fully supported through the gateway. Also, the gateway now understands Photoshop files, and the interesting thing, if you take a look at this is a Photoshop file. It's actually handled pretty much like we would handle an EXR multi-channel. So if I double-click on the multi-icon, it actually exposes all the different layers that are nested inside of the clip, and the Photoshop options actually allow you to decide if how you want to actually handle also the resolutions of the various layers. And here you have 2 options. So essentially you can decide whether you want to keep the layers of the Photoshop files at the native resolutions or are actually positioned on the background, as is the case here as I'm showing. If I switch this to native resolution, you will see that if I double click again and expand the Photoshop file, now every single layer actually appears in its native resolution. So it's up to me to decide how I want to import this into the application, and by default it's going to be scaled to the background resolution and position according to the background resolution. So that's kind of cool. ARRI RAW is also a new format that we're introducing here, and so ARRI RAW is the format that is supported by the D20, the D21, and the newly introduced Alexa camera. And this is if you look at here, this is ARRI RAW footage that we have. Again, it presents options that allow you to control how you want to convert the media from its raw format into an RGB format, and that would include controls over the resolution, also the color, I guess in a very similar paradigm to what you may be already familiar with the red footage. That's pretty much it on the format side. An interesting thing also that happened in the extension is that we did a lot of little tweaks and fixes on the conform functionality that was introduced with the drag and drop functionality. But one that is probably worth mentioning is the I guess what I call the drag and drop force relink, and this particular feature was done to solve problems where you know that a specific file is missing and is not relinking properly, and you know where that file is, and you just want to force the relink, and you can actually do that gesturally. So I'm just going to show you how that works. So I have this very simple 3-edit FCP timeline here. I'm just going to drag and drop it into a library. And so if I look at actually the 3 edits here, it's telling me that 1 is an unlinked media. Okay, if I go ahead and I happen to know that it's this particular graphic file that doesn't have the same name as in the XML, and I want to relink and force relink it. Well, now what I can do is essentially take it and drop it over the unlinked event, and it will ask me if I really want to reconform it, to relink it, sorry. And now you will see in the previewer that the timeline has actually updated. So it's actually applying soft effects and various things, but you see now that I have my graphic file that has been properly relinked to my timeline. So this is what we call drag and drop force relink. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's kind of a handy thing to do some troubleshooting. That's about it really in a nutshell for some of the library functions, and it's time for us to take a look more at the creative stuff.